like at the end of the day, you're responsible for your happiness. Nobody else is responsible for your happiness. And I think that's where people get messed up in relationships, because they'll get in a relationship and expect this person to make them happy. Oh, you're not making me happy, or you're not making me whole. Well, that's where you're messing up. You're supposed to be happy and whole on your own. And then if you meet another person and they're happy and whole, then y'all both are two whole and happy people.
That's right. We made it to Atlanta. We're going to kick it up for the attitude of gratitude. We want to say thank you, God, first of all, for bringing us together on this special occasion, for orchestrating everything, you know. And with that being said, I want to welcome you to the High Vibrations Only podcast, where we have something for everyone. We are all about inspiration, motivation, elevation. It's all about continuously evolving into a higher, better expression of yourself. We want to make you feel good, make you feel like you could take on the world, because guess what, baby? You could take on the world. This right here is a special episode because I am blessed, privileged, honored to be sitting right next to one of the most important people in hip-hop, in culture, in music, in Atlanta, in the country. Some people say he's like the mayor of Atlanta.
No.
In November of 2022, Radio Facts named him to their Power Player list. He is many things to a lot of people: a leader, a change agent, a decision maker, shifting the culture, turning the conversation in a new direction. Listen, to me, he is a friend, a brother, a mentor, and so much more. I am talking about the Vice President of SiriusXM and Pandora, Programming Director for SiriusXM Pandora Now, the one and only Joshua J1 Raiford. Welcome to the show, sir.
I don't think I've ever had an intro like that in my whole entire life. I might have to bring you out on the road with me a couple of times, man. That was awesome.
Oh, man, no, listen.
I was like, who's he talking about? I'm turning around like, oh, wow.
Because it comes from the heart, man. Listen.
I know it does.
It's such an honor, man. I was just saying offline that, you know, fresh out of college, you know, 2015, 2016, when I started my career in Radio 1 DC, it was such an honor to have met you at that time and to work with you. And, you know, one of the things that drew me to you was the fact that, you know, not only did you inspire by what you say, you inspire by what you do. You know what I mean? And it was this thing about servant leadership. One of the things you always used to say to us that I carry with me everywhere I go is control the controllables.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And before we go into all the amazing stuff that you're doing, I'm curious to know, because the thing about you is J1 doesn't just say, go move that box. He'll say, let's go move that box.
Let's go move that box.
I never forget a story. We had a conflict. It was sales had an event and programming had an event. And I had to go to the sales event. And you said, Licious, give me the camera. I go shoot it. And you put it together. Make sure you give me my credit though, because I shot that. And you went.
I forgot all about that. Yeah.
And you went and did it. And I'm curious. Talk about, where did that come from, you being a servant leader? Because I think this is something that we don't see enough of in this day and age, especially in our industry. Just about how you were brought up. Where'd that come from?
Well, I mean, really, it comes from the Bible at the end of the day.
Right.
Remember, Jesus said, and I don't want to misquote Christ, so I will somewhat paraphrase it, but he who is greatest is the one who serves.
Yeah,
so at the end of the day, if you want to be a great leader, you have to understand how to follow first.
Yes.
And understand that you're the one that needs to be in the trenches or on the battlefield with your team.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't ask anybody to do something that either I'm not willing to do or I haven't done before.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it might be a task that I'm not doing anymore, but I have done.
Yes.
So I could speak from experience.
Absolutely.
But I'm a firm believer in, if you want people to really go to bat for you, or your team to go to bat for you and run through a wall for you, you have to be willing to do the same thing and more. You have to show them first and build up that trust.
Absolutely. That's what's up. Listen, you have such an incredible journey, you know, just from being a 14-year-old DJ in Harlem, New York, to where you're at now as the vice president of Service Excellence Pandora, and graduated Morehouse.
Yes.
The house.
The house. Yes, sir.
But I was looking at something that was interesting to me, and I didn't want to get it wrong, so I did my due diligence. Graduate at Morehouse, like you had your BA in Business Marketing Management and Related Support Services, Master's in Marketing, and an MBA from Georgia State University.
Yes.
Now, with all of this, somebody would say, why don't you just get like a job in like a business corporation, like a company, something like that? What was it about like the industry? Because I was trying to figure out, was that because you've always had the passion for music? Because with that, I would think that you go into business, but you decided to go into radio.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a complicated story, but it's not. So my parents are big on education, so they always encouraged me to not only get a college degree, but get some sort of master's degree, whether it was going to law school, business school, or whatever. Yeah. So I kind of had that thought process when I graduated from college, because I really didn't know where my career was going to take me, because it was during like the recession and all that, and there wasn't a lot of jobs available. Yeah. And I was doing parties when I was in college, but it's completely different after you graduate. Yeah. You ain't on the yard no more, and you're trying to appeal to a crowd that don't even know you like that. So I was struggling. Yeah. So I was going to go back to grad school. I was actually studying to go to law school. Right. And then DJing just started picking up for me, to the point I was making a whole bunch of money, and I got picked up by radio. And then once, I enjoy reading, but there's a certain type of reading I like to do. I like to read for like leisure and fun. Okay. But anybody who's a lawyer will tell you, law school and all that stuff, and even the entrance exam, the LSAT, you got to do a lot of reading, and it's boring reading. And I was just like, man, this ain't really for me. So I ended up not doing it. So I was getting into, I was DJing and was one of the hottest DJs in the city at the time. Sir. And, I was having a good time with it. And I just remember I was DJing this one club, and the owner was actually like a former lawyer himself who had success and got into the club and restaurant business. Right. And one night he came to me, and he was probably half drunk, but he would always give me these lectures from time to time, and some of them would make sense. Other times he was just rambling. But this particular night, he said, J1, you're too smart to be doing this. You need to go back to school. You need to go to law school or get an MBA, because you need to be like running a business or something like that. Yeah. And he said, because you ain't going to be the young hot DJ forever. Y'all DJs come and go. Right. And that money's good now, and you hot and everybody loves you. Yeah. But 2, 3, 5 years from now, ain't nobody going to be thinking about your old ass. Wow. And I just remember the rest of the night, man, it just sat with me and sat with me. And even when I went home, I couldn't really sleep, because I was just thinking about it. And I said, man, I need to get back on track. Yeah. I need to finish what I said I was going to do. Yeah. So I ended up taking the GMAT and enrolling in Georgia State. I got accepted in Georgia State's business program. And then on the flip side, I didn't really know if I was going to have a future in music at that time, because again, I was DJing, I was working at the radio station. Yeah. I was like an on-air talent and did a little bit of everything. I was an assistant programmer. Yeah. But the guy who was the assistant program director, the number 2 guy to the program director, he had been there for so long and seemed so comfortable with the position. I never thought he was going to leave. So I was just like, and I love the guy to this day. He was the one that brought me into radio. Shout out to Bill Black. Yeah. But at the time, Bill had been there for like 7 years. Yeah. And I was like, well, maybe he just liked being the assistant program director. I don't know. Right. Maybe he's going to be there. But I'm thinking to myself, well, if he gonna sit there, ain't no upward momentum for me or place for me to go. So I said, you know, I prayed to God and told him straight out. I said, Lord, if there's not an opportunity within music or radio by the time I graduate and get my MBA, then I'm gonna do something else. This ain't meant for me.
Wow.
You know.
Okay.
And it's funny how God works.
Yeah.
The semester I was supposed to graduate, or the semester I did graduate, Bill ended up taking a job out in Cleveland, and I got his old position.
Oh man.
So yeah, it was an amazing you know, door that God opened up for me.
Yeah.
Especially like me thinking about not even pursuing music at that point in my life, because like the clubs and DJing was cool, but I was getting burnt out from it. I didn't want to be out every night.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a night person. I'm more of a morning person.
Right.
So nights for me, leaving my house at midnight, even when I was at my peak in DJing, it would be a struggle for me.
It was stressful. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was part of the reason I went back and got my my MBA. And then also, I'll be quick about this. Like I've always been brought up that, you know, as a black man or a black person, we have to be 2-3 times as good as our counterparts. We don't have that type of, you know, leeway for us to, you know what I'm saying, no, I don't even want to say slack off or anything like that, but we don't have that type of autonomy not to be on point because there's already stereotypes about us or our work ethic that when we come into the door, we have to dispel. Yes. Absolutely. Call it fair, call it unfair, call it what you want. It is what it is. It is what it is. So I knew if I was going to be an executive, whether it was in the music business or anywhere else, and let's say my resume was very similar to somebody that didn't look like me, right? I wanted to have everything on my resume for to put myself in the best position to get that spot, to become a vice president, to be on the executive board or whatever. And I didn't want to leave any excuse for why I couldn't be in that executive position. Like, I understand the culture, but I also am very educated. I have a master's degree. I have an undergrad degree.
Speak on it.
So what's the reason why I can't get this position? Absolutely. I've taken leadership courses.
Yes, sir.
I know how to talk to the boardroom. I know how to talk to the streets. What's the excuse? When you take all the excuses off the table, either people are going to give you a real answer or they going to open up that door.
Yeah, absolutely. That's dope, man. So, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you going from Indy. I mean, when our paths crossed, it was at Radio 1, you know, DC. When you came to DC and you were the PD of KYS. And, you know, of course, took the station to number 1 at the time. But there was something I think was pivotal and that you did. And it was interesting because I was talking to a producer in the DMV, and we were talking about how this event, you know, really changed the landscape. And I'm talking about this, you know, we talking about Kiss Fest.
Oh, man.
You know?
Yeah.
And, I mean, that right there, I remember.
There hasn't been anything like it.
Woo! I remember just being on stage. First of all, if y'all don't, we gonna probably put some pictures or whatever in here, but we had LMA at the time.
So, the lineup was her.
Yep.
LMA, Jacquees, and this is when LMA and Jacquees was beefing. That was at the height of that beef. So we didn't even know what was gonna happen. We was like, it might go down backstage, it might go down on stage. It was a lot of tension. But
oh man,
we had TK Kravitz. We had Ari Lennox.
Yeah, we did. Wale made an appearance.
Wale popped up.
Yeah.
I'm missing somebody. Oh, Danny Lay. Danny Lay came out. Michi performed.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Sure did.
It was crazy. And this was before Ari Lennox was even signed.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was crazy to me because I remember standing on stage, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, doing video and everything. And I look at the crowd, about 3,000 people sold out.
We sold it out with like 2 weeks
Sold
ago.
out.
I told the bosses, I said, yo, y'all should have got me a bigger venue. Cause they was down, but they was like, yo, we gonna put you over here. I said 3,000 not gonna be enough. Y'all need to take it to the wharf. Give me that 5,000. I'll sell out 5,000.
Yeah.
No, it's the first one, J1 and da 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 da. I said, all right.
Oh, man.
But no, I gotta give credit where credit's due. I gotta shout out Angie, and Gemini, because we were talking about that show, and I remember I took them to lunch, and I was like, you know, I want to put together this first concert for KYS, and I just needed ideas in the brainstorm. And I remember Angie saying, we need to do something around R&B. DC is an R&B city. If you do an R&B show, J1, it'll go off. And Gemini co-signed it, and I was like, you know what? Let's do it. I trust my people like that, and it sounded good. It made sense, and we ended up doing it.
I mean, set the blueprint, man, because you just answered the question. Because I was going to ask you, like, what made you even make that move to, like, say, when you got here, that this was one of the first things that you were going. This is one of the first things you were going to do. You know, and I think it was. Because even after you left, you know, it set the blueprint, because even the other PD that came in, they try to make it, before I left, even a part of, like, the, you know, the main events for the company. You know what I mean? And it was so dope. But, you know, from there, we went all the way to, you know, came back to Atlanta, Pandora. Got that call, had to make that move. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, because I think you have a lot of accomplishments in the short time that you've been there, you know, and I want to go over them. And you know what I'm saying? And as I mentioned, an accomplishment or something that you've done thus far, we're going to hear this right here.
Oh, man, not the gunshot, man.
All right, so we have Sirius XM Pandora Playback was one thing that you did.
Yes.
Amen. We got New Music Friday Top 3 that you did, all right? I went all the way back. And we got the Connect 4 Convo, for sure, okay? And then we have Top Shelf. Now, for those of you who don't know, Top Shelf is a playlist, hip-hop, R&B. It's actually one of the largest in the country. We're talking about over 5 million listeners that it has. You know, you did a bunch of other stuff and some new stuff coming up. We got The Booth. Am I saying that right?
The Booth.
The Booth coming up. And back in July 2020, you guys did something amazing in partnership with LeBron James and Maverick Carter and the Uninterrupted Radio that
Uninterrupted
you guys did.
Radio,
How'd that come about?
Well, that deal was made through the head of the chief content officer. Shout out to Scott Greenstein. He's one of the best in the business, and I've learned so much from him. Just a smart dude, and the way his brain thinks, man, and just big ideas and stuff. That was his brainchild. Okay. So he put it together, but you know, he asked me to be the liaison and actually be the point person for that to facilitate putting the playlist together and working with the awesome team at Uninterrupted to make it happen. So, you know, I don't know if we can do this, but I was listening to the imaging for Top Shelf. Okay.
You know, that thing is smooth. I don't know. Can we play a little bit of that? Is that okay? Is that all right? Can we do that?
Go ahead, man. This your show.
I'm just saying. I gotta get permission because this thing is smooth, y'all. This is the imaging for Top Shelf. Listen, check it out.
All your favorite hits, new music, and emerging artists live on Top Shelf Rap and R&B, featuring the latest from 2 Chainz and Mulatto.
She been quarantined, and let's shout it deep.
Ty Dolla $ign featuring Future and Young Thug.
Ah, baby, let me up. Ah, baby, carry me. Ah, baby.
H.E.R. Her.
Holding me tight, loving me right, giving me life.
Just search Top Shelf on Pandora or tap here to listen. The next wave of music is now.
Check out this 2021 Pandora artist to watch
on Pandora now.
Listen, y'all gonna have to.
So full disclosure, I gotta get you a more current promo.
Okay.
That was an older promo, that was like when we was like first launching it. Well, I launched the station when I first got there, but that was like a year into it, and we was trying to boost the listeners and stuff like that. Wow, you went in the archives and got that one. I don't even remember that one, but I gotta get you some updated promos. But I appreciate it.
But that was smooth, man. Yeah, I think it was phenomenal. All of this in just a short time that you've been there. There's something that you guys are also doing that I think is really amazing. And Coco Jones is actually one of the first artists that you're going to do with the Artist Accelerator program. Talk to us about that. We're talking about 6 to 12 artists over the next 2 years.
Again, shout out to my other supervisor, Steve Blatter. That's who I report into. And this is something that he's wanted to do for a long time. He's been at Sirius XM for a minute. Yeah. And he's always wanted to develop like this new artist program. Mm-hmm. And when Sirius acquired Pandora and he became the person to oversee both platforms. Yeah. He came to me and was like, "Hey, I really want you to spearhead this artist development program or this artist accelerator program." So, we sat down, him, myself, and another gentleman named Jeff Regan. That's my guy. We put it together with the folks from marketing and social and different departments in the company. And it was a big undertaking because you had 2 different platforms that were coming together to show the power of the reach of what we can do when we're together, how we can really, really help break an artist. Yeah. So we had to figure out who our first artist was going to be because we just couldn't go out with anybody. It had to be somebody that was going to hit.
I was about to ask that. How do you guys decide who to spotlight?
I mean, it's a number of factors. Like, there's no formula to it. There's no like particular checklist because we've launched 3 artists so far, and they're all very different. Okay. Like Coco is with Def Jam. She had a background with Disney. Yeah. She was on TV, but a lot of people didn't know her for her music at that time. Yeah. Now they do. Yeah. Like now her music is everywhere. Right. And then the next person, it was a country artist, right? Yeah. And then we went to a rock band, right? And I don't think the country artist had just signed with the label, so
So you got to be signed. Everybody.
No. Like they were independent. Oh, okay. Yeah, they were independent. It was either the rock group or the country artist. One of them either just signed and the other one was completely independent. Okay. So like again, it doesn't. I say that to say is like it just has to be the right situation. Mm-hmm. It has to be an artist that we really believe in, an artist that not just has one song, but has multiple songs that we can choose from because it's called Artist Accelerator and not Music Accelerator. Because we want to focus on the artist and not just the particular song. Yeah. Right? We want this to be a long relationship. So, we had a good conversation with Def Jam. Shout out to Tunji over there who's running it, man. One of the best and youngest CEOs and producers in the presidents in music right now. Yeah. And we had a good conversation, and him and his team over there, they were like, "Hey, here's our list of artists that we want to propose," and they were very excited about Coco Jones, and we listened to like her music, ICU, and a whole bunch of other stuff that she had on her upcoming project, and we just felt it was a good fit because I had met her. Shoot, this was back in I want to say 2021 when we just opened up the office. Okay. And it was either 2021 or early 2022. I can't remember. Whenever she had Caliber out. Okay.
That was right. I think that was right around then.
Yeah.
It was right around then.
When she had Caliber out, we were actually playing Caliber very heavy on Pandora, and I was playing it on Pandora now. And she came through to the Atlanta office, and we chopped it up, and I just thought she was an amazing person. Yeah. Like just super dope, down to earth. very personable. Obviously, she was very talented, but we also wanted an artist that, like, okay, if we're doing content with you, you weren't going to be dry.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
absolutely.
saying?
Yeah.
And she was just the perfect first artist.
Yeah.
And we were very thankful that we were able to capture to capture that moment when we did, and really back her when we did, because a couple months after that, we saw different media outlets and streaming platforms putting their stamp on her as well.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what we wanted. We're not going to say we're the ones that played her for the world or introduced her to the world. We just want to be the ones, when they look back, they was like, you got the party started. You need that one person that's going to step out on the dance floor and start dancing, and everybody else going to come in. So we wanted to be that for her.
Coco's been amazing. She like, you know, from, like you said, a lot of people know her from like her acting, not so much of the music.
Right.
From Let It Shine, and of course, you know, been on the Fresh Prince as well. You know,
Bel Air. Yeah.
So, but there's something you said that's so key to me, and that's about, you said, it's not called Music Accelerator, it's called Artist Accelerator. And I wanted to ask you about that, because when we look at the landscape, you have a unique position in the sense of you've been on terrestrial radio. Now you're, you know, being on streaming. You've been on all aspects of it. Do you think, when you look at the artists that are, when it comes to emerging artists, up and coming artists, do you think that streaming is the better route, in your humble, honest opinion?
For an emerging artist?
Emerging, up and coming, trying to break through, compared to radio.
I mean,
because you were one of the prophets back then that, you know, that kind of saw this coming.
Well, I think I say it like this. Radio is still necessary.
Yeah.
It's just in the whole matriculation for an artist and artist development, radio shouldn't be your first stop.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Radio shouldn't be your first stop if you're trying to, like, establish yourself as an artist. Now, it definitely needs to be a stop. Like, if you get some buzz and some momentum, and you're really trying to you're trying to go from star to superstar, right? That's when, you know, radio comes into play, because radio could take you from getting 50,000 a show to $100,000 a show if you're getting like real rotation across the country. But as far as like you saying like, yo, I want radio to break my record, that's not really their infrastructure anymore. That's not what people go to them for anymore. So you just have to understand the landscape. It's you know, there's many different pieces of the pie as an artist that you have to fill in. So even streaming, like, you can't just rely on streams alone. If you want to really capitalize off of all your revenue opportunities or your exposure opportunities or even your audience opportunities, you got to hit different pockets.
Okay, that's dope. I mean, that's so key. But that's free game, y'all. That's free game for real. Talk to us about, you know, because earlier this year, I think it was right around March, you guys rolled out the booth. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
How is that? Talk to us about that concept. And you guys are really spotlighting emerging, up and coming artists, which is something that you know, is a passion of yours you've always wanted to do.
Oh yeah. Well, I just want to go back, and when I preface radio, I mean like terrestrial radio.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not talking about satellite radio, because Sirius XM kind of does things differently. They're not very traditional. But you was talking about the booth. So the booth was a content series that me and my team had talked about, that we just wanted to do something fun. We wanted to do, you know, another content piece where we could give emerging artists a platform to perform. But we wanted to put like a little twist on it, as far as like them having to perform over a classic beat. And it's twofold, because you want, you know, if you're a new artist and you're doing an unfamiliar song, there needs to be something familiar about it to capture people's attention. It's just the way we're wired and stuff. People say they want to hear new music, but a lot of times they want to hear the stuff that they know and they can sing to it, that invokes a feeling to them, right? So we started doing the booth. And then also, you know, I grew up watching Rap City and the Basement and all that. And I used to love when they would go into the booth and freestyle. And that was like the coolest thing to me. So that's kind of what that whole thing was about, was kind of recreating that whole booth vibe.
Okay.
And I've enjoyed it. I really like listening to, you know, the finished product. I remember Neek Bucks was actually the first one that we did. And I had his joint on repeat before we even published it, because like I had it in my phone and I just kept playing it because it was so hard. Yeah. And I forget the beat that he did. He did like a Mobb Deep Cameron joint.
We're gonna find it.
The beat was so hard, though, and the way he killed it, man, and what he was spitting, I was like, man, I gotta keep running that back, man. I was playing it like I had it in my own personal stash, man. And I told him when I saw it, I said, yo, I think your joint on repeat. He started laughing.
Yo, that's amazing, man. So do you guys, this is specifically, how do you guys decide on which artist makes it on that platform? How do you go through the process of choosing who you spotlight on that?
Again, it just has to make sense. Okay. It just has to feel right. It has to make sense for the artist. It has to make sense for us. So sometimes it's not even based off of people like, oh, they got to have this amount of social media followers. Yeah. We've done people that have low followership, but it's just a situation. Who's walking you in and all that stuff. So it's a case-by-case basis.
So you just said that real quick. Say that one more time. You said it's a situation depending on who's walking you in.
Well, who's walking you in also. So it could be we like your following, or you put out dope music, or somebody's walking you in the building, right? Yeah. Like shout to Nando STL. Yeah. He's T-Pain's artist. Right. So T-Pain walked him in, was like, yo, you know, I wanted to rock in with y'all. Right. Okay, let's go. You know, I've known Pain for a while, so it was like let's make it happen. So but I say that to say, you know, we can't have every artist come in. Yeah. We got to be selective. Yeah, absolutely. That's the nature of music. Yeah. Every artist want to get playlisted, but we just can't do it. So it depends on how you make yourself stand out.
Yeah. Now, speaking of podcasts, you know, we on a podcast, but you had or still have a podcast. I mean, you were doing it for a while. You know, the success.
I had it. I let it go.
No, but we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that because what was interesting to me, for those of you who don't know, it's called Successful and Single is the name of the podcast. And one of the things that you said that was so key to me, or was kind of like interesting to me, you talked about the fact that, you know, it's hard for successful people to find love. And I wanted, is that, do you really, why do you think it's hard for, why do you think that?
Well, through my conversations of talking with the guests that I had on there, I started seeing like a recurring theme. Is just a lot of us are just focused on us. Yeah. Like we focused on our own goals and we're very driven. Yeah. And when somebody else comes around and we feel like they're a hindrance to that, we don't really have a lot of leeway. Yeah. And I know for me personally, and I admit this, like I'm very selfish with my time. You know, like I'm a creature of habit. Yeah. I like a nice routine. I wake up at a certain time. Yeah. I work out at a certain time. Yeah. Like I write down everything that I'm gonna do for the day. Yeah. So when my schedule or my cadence gets thrown off, I get a little agitated. Right. I get a little antsy. So what happens? What was happening in my case was, you know, I would start dating people, and if I felt like they was throwing me off in any little way, then I was gone. Okay. Because one thing about me, it was like, I'm gonna get to my goals. Like I'm gonna get to where I need to get to. Because the last thing I want is if I don't get somewhere and I feel like I sacrificed something that I didn't necessarily have to sacrifice,
Right.
and I didn't get there because of that, I'm gonna look back and then I don't want to resent nobody.
Right.
You know, if I didn't make it, I want to be because of me.
Right.
I don't want to be because
somebody came along.
yeah, somebody
messed up the
came.
flow.
Somebody came along and messed up the flow. No,
Yeah.
like there's only one person that I need to look at for my failures, and that's me.
And that's you.
That's me. So so I think successful people is just like, one, we're always on the go. Two, you know, you don't want to settle for the bullshit.
Yeah.
Excuse me if I can
No,
curse
you
or
good.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't want to settle for
Yeah.
nothing less, because it's like, you know, we work hard. So why can't we have the best?
Yeah.
Right?
So you're saying that you don't want somebody that'll come and mess up the flow. You want someone that'll come fit in perfectly with what's going on and just go on the ride and the journey with you. Is what it sounds like.
Somebody that's gonna enhance and really be understanding, because I move around a lot.
Yeah.
Like I'm traveling a lot. I go to different meetings.
Yeah.
I work. You know, I have 12-hour days and stuff. So you gotta understand. And then then when I'm not working, I'm gonna be in the gym or doing something, because I believe in keeping myself healthy.
Yeah.
So, you know, I spend time with my parents because they live in the city. So it's very important that I get that time with them, especially that they're in their latter years. So there's a lot of stuff that's gonna come that's in my life. So if you feel like, well, you know, I'm just fitting you in, then you're right. I am fitting you in. I'm making time for you. I'm fitting you into what I got going on in my ecosystem. Right. And I'm not saying this is right. I'm just saying this is me, and this is probably why I'm by myself and don't have no kids.
Hey.
You know, and I admit that.
I think what's important to you is that you saying that, you know, there is that fact of, like, you know, sacrifices need to be made.
No, they do. They
do. Yeah, it's about the right sacrifice being made.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna, like, listen. I've gone through a lot of just messed up. I won't even say messed up, but I've done dating wrong. You know, to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm ready, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and then I had to have a conversation with myself. It's like, what do you really want? And it's like you enjoy your routine. You enjoy working hard. You enjoy accomplishing stuff. I don't like sitting around just not doing anything all day. Like it don't sit right with me. You know, and I don't know if that's like a good habit to have, because sometimes you do need to decompress and get some time to yourself. But I realized, like, no, I don't want to sacrifice what I got going on right now. I'm not there yet. And that's okay. Like at the end of the day, you're responsible for your happiness. Nobody else is responsible for your happiness. And I think that's where people get messed up in relationships, because they'll get in a relationship and expect this person to make them happy. Oh, you're not making me happy, or you're not making me whole. Well, that's where you're messing up. You're supposed to be happy and whole on your own. And then if you meet another person and they're happy and whole, then y'all both are two whole and happy people. So God forbid somebody else, you're not feeling whole. You might be at 75%. You always going to be whole because that person is operating at 100%. Or even if y'all are both operating at 50-50 for whatever reason, y'all are still whole. Right? But, you know, people, I need my better half and all that. No, like, be whole. Accomplish what you want to accomplish, and then get with somebody that's going to enhance that. But again, I'm just giving advice that hasn't worked for me so far. So, you know, listen to me if you want, but if you don't, I understand.
Hey, man, listen, you do a lot, and I mean, I got a couple of questions for you before I let you go, but you do a lot, and I'm curious to know, how do you maintain your sanity? Because mental health is key, especially in this business. How do you make sure that you don't lose your mind, you don't take anything out on anyone, you know, keeping your peace? How do you do that? Because that's something I know that I'm curious about, you know,
I mean, I have my mental battles like everybody else does. You know, I go through my times of self-doubt. I go through my times where I'm down or not feeling the best that I can be. The key is I don't allow myself to stay there.
Mm.
And then I have different outlets that help keep my mental in a good space, right? So again, like I told you, I'm a creature of habit. So I wake up, I read my scriptures, I read something motivational, I listen to something motivational, I listen to like a quick sermon or something. Then I go to the gym, I work out. So once I've done all that, like I've exercised my mind, my body, and my soul. So then I'm ready to face the day. And then a lot of my friends and family in my circle are not in my business or not in the music business.
Okay.
So the people that I hang out with or that I break bread with, they do something completely different. So it's a different type of energy. So we're talking about different things. We're laughing.
Yeah.
They look at me as Josh Raiford. They don't look at me as J1.
Okay.
So, I could kind of let my guard down and just relax and have a good time.
Yeah.
And, I hang out with my parents a lot too. I take my dad to Top Golf on the weekends and we have a good time. Take them out to eat. So there's a lot of different stuff that I do that just really just helps me either relieve stress or keeps my mental in balance. But it's a constant thing that you have to do, because it's not like, oh, if I do this one time, I'm good. No, because there's always going to be attacks on your mind. That's the first place that the devil attacks a person. They attack their mind. Because if he can get into your mind or get into your thought process, everything else will follow suit at the end of the day. So, and it's not even that the enemy can make you do something. It's all about suggestions. It's all about like, oh, you don't think you're not really as good as you think you are. Or what if this goes wrong? Or what if that happens? Are you sure about that? And it's like, if you see a bug in your house, you let that bug come in, you have a choice. Oh, yeah, I'll let it go. But then 2 weeks later, you have 5 more bugs, or you have a whole ant colony. That's the same thing with negative and crazy thoughts. You let it get in your head, you got to get it out. You got to squish it. You got to choke that seed out. Because if you don't, it'll fester in there. It'll start growing, and other stuff comes in. I told somebody today, it's like being in a boat. You got water all around you. You fine, right? And there's all types of stuff in the water, sharks, jellyfish, whatever you want to say, but you're in the boat. Now, the second that water starts coming in, that's when you're in trouble. It's the same thing. Might be crazy stuff going all around you, negative people, negative thoughts, wildness, but as long as you don't let it get inside of you, then you'll be able to maintain. But once it gets inside you, that's when you gotta do your best to get it out. So I'm always fighting that fight.
You talk a lot about God and family, and how important is that? Because one of the things you always say, God first.
Oh yeah.
And I never forget a story. I think it was Joel Osteen that was in town or something like that.
Oh, I went to see Joel in D.C. Yeah.
Drove. I said he was like, yeah, I'm driving there tonight. Because I didn't go say I need that good word.
Yeah.
How important is that for you? Because that's something that it's hard to find.
Yeah.
In our business, people that put God first.
I mean, I tell people that this business is about relationships, but the most important relationship that you'll ever have or that you can have is with God. That's where all relationships start. That's where they all end. So if your relationship ain't right with God, then your other relationships ain't going to be right. They might seem cool temporarily, but eventually a house built on sand is going to sink. So I'm not saying that I do everything perfect or that like I've done everything perfect or according to God's word, but the one thing that I'm always going to do is I'm always going to talk with him. I'm always going to give him thanks. I'm always going to be a tither, and I'm never going to run away from him. No matter how bad I messed up or if I did something completely opposite of what I know is right, not just an accidental, oh, I messed up. Like, no, I did this knowing full and well that like it goes against what God said. I have enough integrity in my heart to ask for forgiveness and know that he forgives me and still move forward. But yeah, at the end of the day, I know I wouldn't be here where I'm at if it wasn't for God. And that's what really keeps me calm and keeps my mental in that state, that no matter what's happening or how bad things may seem or how bad I might trip up, I'm like, no, God did not bring me this far to fail. And even this setback is not the end of my story, or it's not powerful enough to stop what God has in my life. No person or no thing is that powerful. And when you have that mentality, it just puts things in perspective. And that's one of the constant reminders I always have to tell myself, like, man, this person is pissing me off, or they said this, or they did me like that. And then I just hear that voice say, is that person more powerful than me? And I'd be like, nah. And he's like, then why you tripping? Why you even stressing them? You know, what's a grasshopper to a giant? Right?
Yes, sir.
Like, why you even looking at that? Joel Osteen said something so profound. He was just like, when an eagle is getting bothered by a crow, he don't fight the crow. You know what he do? He just go higher. He go to an altitude that he knows the crow can't fly up to.
Yes, sir.
Because he said eagles can fly as high as planes.
Yeah.
Crows can't get that high. So instead of fighting something that you know is less powerful than you just rise up. Oh, yes, I got the applause on that one. That was Joel though. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, that's that. I'm always gonna give God the glory and always have that relationship.
HipHop 50.
HipHop 50.
Yes, August. Turning 50 this year. Just got a few questions for you.
Yeah.
Some fun stuff. First, what was your first, if you can recall, your first interaction, your first contact, I would say, with hip hop? Whether hearing a hip hop song or being at a concert, what was that for you?
Man, there's this song, "You Talk Too Much, Oh Boy, You Never Shut Up." I was singing that song, and my grandmother was in the car, and I was singing that song, and my dad like turned around and wanted to smack the hell out of me for that. I think that was like the first interaction. But as far as like actually like buying albums and all that kind of stuff, sheesh, what was that first like real album that I bought? It had to have been The Chronic.
Okay.
Yeah. And man, I just remember having that joint on repeat.
Yeah.
And then Enter the 36 Chambers by Wu-Tang was another classic album. Of course, Ready to Die, All Eyes on Me. Watching the first Source Awards when Andre 3000 said the South got something to say. And, Snoop Dogg, y'all ain't got, East Coast ain't got no love for Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. And it's that whole, Come to Death Row. That's what I really knew. I was like, man, I wanted to be in the music game.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I wanted to be Puffy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He was the coolest guy on earth to me at that time. But yeah, it's just amazing, man. It's a blessing. 50 years of hip hop. Yeah. And there were so many people that didn't think hip hop was going to survive, or it was a fad, and it's gone through so much and it's evolved so much. It's just a beautiful thing to watch. And now we see artists, I talked about Puffy. Now you see his son just got his first number 1 song. You're seeing the sons of hip hop artists come into their own, which is crazy to think about, right? You have rappers that are over 50 right now and still doing it. So it's coming into like how rock and roll with those legacy artists, like the Rolling Stones and Kiss and Aerosmith, how these guys are in their 60s and 70s and still selling out crowds and concerts. That we're seeing the same thing with hip hop when with Wu-Tang still going on world tours and everything like that, and and the Locks and all these legacy artists that are going out and selling out crowds and arenas. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. One last question before I let you go. It was called like your GOAT song. Like, if you could listen to one song, your last day on earth, you can only listen to one song, what would it be?
Ooh, one song. I can't, just one song?
Okay, give me 3, whatever, but you know. I know that's tough.
Oh my God. I Ain't Mad at You by Tupac.
Okay.
I think that's one of the most beautiful songs.
Okay.
Because this is my last day on earth, so
Yeah.
you know I need some. I need something for the soul. So I Ain't Mad at You. All That I Got Is You by Ghostface Killer.
Yeah. Ooh,
That's
okay.
that's another beautiful song. And if I'm gonna pick something new, and I'm telling you, it's my last day, I'm going with Lil Durk and J. Cole all my life, y'all. I'm going sentimental, man.
Yes, sir. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Listen, we can talk forever, man, but I am so grateful for the opportunity, just sitting here with me for the mentorship over the years. I'm always say, like, no matter how busy you are, you always make time for little old me, and I really
It's
appreciate
all good,
it.
bro.
You know what I mean? Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the platform. Guys, this is High Vibrations Only. We're here. We're going to be here every week. Once we get rolling, we're going to be here every week for sure. Like I always say, vibe high, live better. I don't know if you have closing thoughts, anything you have coming up that you want to share, or just, closing thoughts that you want to share.
I think I ran my mouth enough, man.
Okay.
I just say, keep God first in everything that you do.
Amen. And that's it. Thank you, guys. See you guys later. Peace out.